The boss who publicly demoted me learned a hard lesson when I became his rival's new owner. It started in Apex Solutions' packed Seattle conference room, June 2025. James Hasman, new CEO, stood tall, microphone in hand, eyes cold as steel. He called me up. "Steve, you're dead weight," he boomed, stripping my senior project manager title. "Back to analyst. Pack your things." 200 coworkers stared, some clapping on cue. My cheeks burned, hands shook as I sat. James smirked, savoring power. 10 years I'd given Apex, landing contracts like Thompson, boosting profits 30%. One bad quarter, and he humiliated me to flex control. That night, in my dim apartment, shame twisted my gut like a rusty blade. I'd built teams, covered his errors, yet he crushed me. Something sparked, a fire, not defeat. This wasn't my end. His smirk fueled rage, a vow to rise. I paced, replaying the moment, his voice a splinter. Sleep fled, my mind churned. By dawn, I swore to turn the tables. The pain of that walk-off stage would forge my comeback. James thought he'd won, broken me in front of everyone. He'd learn how wrong he was. My fists clenched, imagining his shock when I'd stand taller, his empire dust. The seed of revenge planted, ready to grow. If you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from. James's whisper haunted me, "Men like you will never matter." After the meeting, I packed my desk, coworkers dodging my gaze like I was a ghost. The office buzzed with whispers, pity thick as fog. I boxed photos, awards, 10 years of sweat. James strolled by, hands in pockets, fake smile sharp as a razor. He leaned close, breath hot. "Don't take it personal, Steve. It's business. You'll never matter." My fists clenched, nails biting, but I nodded, silent. The elevator ride down felt like a coffin drop. I'd stayed late, fixed his mistakes, earned praise. Now, nothing. In my car, I screamed, tears hot, angry. At home, pity texts flooded, "Sorry, man." Brutal. Each stung, fueling fire. His words looped, "Never matter." I'd prove him wrong. I paced, plotting, no plan yet, just resolve. Morning brought clarity. I wouldn't beg for scraps. I'd hit back, make him feel this burn. My phone buzzed, ignored. The office's silence, their averted eyes, his smug face, they lit a fuse. Revenge wasn't a strategy, but it simmered. I stared at my box, relics of a decade. Something in there might hold the key. James's voice echoed, but I'd silence it, turn his words to ash with my rise. I didn't cry in the car. I swore revenge. Driving home, Seattle's streetlights blurred as rage gripped the wheel. James's smirk burned my mind, his voice a splinter in my skull. At my apartment, I dropped my box, scrolling pity texts, "Hang in there. He's a jerk." Each twisted the knife, humiliation raw, public. Something snapped. I wouldn't break. Grabbing a notebook, I scrawled, "Make him pay." Heart pounded, replaying 10 years at Apex, in turn to senior manager. I'd landed Thompson, boosted profits 30%. James? He inherited the CEO chair, coasted on his dad's name. Now, he'd crushed me to prove power. Bills loomed, resume tarnished. Rage turned resolve. I searched job sites, but bigger ideas stirred. What if I didn't just leave? What if I fought? Sleep was fitful, dreams of standing over him, his smirk gone. Morning solidified my vow. This wasn't over. I'd turn his game against him, make him feel my sting. The how wasn't clear, but the why was razor sharp. My box sat in the corner, a reminder of my fall. Among its contents, I'd find my weapon. James's throne was shaky, and I'd shake it harder, make him regret that day in June. He thought he'd erased me. He forgot about the drive. Next day, I sorted my office box, files, pens, an old mug. My fingers grazed a hard drive, forgotten until now. I'd backed up everything in May, reports, client emails, budgets. James demanded I delete company data, but this was mine. Heart racing, I plugged it in. Spreadsheets showed my wins, projects James claimed. Client notes exposed his shortcuts, the bad quarter's cause. This was dynamite. If leaked, it could ruin him. I copied it to my laptop, hid the drive in a locked drawer. Paranoia hit, what if he knew? But he saw me as broken. I updated my resume, but my mind raced. This wasn't just data, it was power. I pictured his face if it surfaced. A smile broke through, first since June's demotion. Revenge took shape. I didn't know how yet, but this drive was my edge. James thought he'd crushed me in front of everyone. He'd overlooked the one thing that could undo him. I leaned back, adrenaline surging. The game shifted. My next move would start his downfall, and he'd never see it coming. I checked the drawer again, ensuring my weapon was safe, ready for war. The rival COO called that night. She said, "Want to ruin him?" My phone buzzed mid-pizza, unknown number, June 10th. I answered, wary. Steve, Marissa Hale, Vertex Innovations. Apex's rival. Pulse spiked. Heard about your demotion. Brutal. News traveled fast in Seattle's tech scene. Her voice sharpened. James is a bully. I've waited to topple him. Meet tomorrow? We could team up. Suspicion mixed with thrill. Ruin him how? Coffee, 9 a.m., Brew Haven. She hung up. I stared at my phone, mind spinning. Vertex was stealing Apex clients, Marissa known for ruthless strategy. Trap? James's paranoia made me wonder. But the drive whispered opportunity. Sleep was restless, scenarios racing, her offer could be my path. Morning, I dressed sharp, nerves buried. Driving, his words echoed, never matter. I'd prove him wrong. Marissa could be the key. The meeting loomed, a pivot point. My heart pounded, betrayal or chance. I gripped the wheel, picturing James's fall. 6 months ago, I was his loyal soldier. Now, I'd be his enemy. Brew Haven neared, its sign glowing. I parked, checked my watch, 8:55 a.m. This coffee could change everything, spark the revenge I'd sworn in the dark. She didn't want me to work for her, she wanted to destroy him. At Brew Haven, Marissa sat in a corner booth, laptop glowing, June 11th, mid-40s, sharp suit, eyes piercing. Steve, thanks for coming. Coffee ordered, she leaned in. James's empire is shaky, fake numbers, unhappy clients. I need your intel to steal his market. Jaw tightened. Why me? Your public demotion. You're driven. She offered a consultant role at Vertex, double my pay, bonuses per client flipped. Not a job, a war. Loyalty lingered, but James's smirk flashed. What's the plan? Her smile was steel. Start small, use your knowledge. The drive came to mind. I have data. Her eyes sparked. Perfect. We shook hands. Driving home, adrenaline roared. This was revenge, calculated. I'd feed her info, watch Apex crumble. Secrecy was critical, one leak, James could sue. Thrill drowned fear. I felt control. The game began, and I held cards he didn't know existed. My apartment's quiet hit a storm. His lesson was coming. I checked the drive, safe in its drawer, my weapon loaded. June's humiliation fueled me, but now I had an ally, and together we'd tear his throne apart. One stolen client doesn't sound much, unless it's his favorite. June 18th, I started at Vertex, low-key. Marissa gave me an office, system access. First target, Harlan account, James's pride. I'd managed it, knew their gripes about delays. From the drive, I pulled emails showing James's cost-cutting caused issues. Anonymized, I gave them to Marissa. Pitch this. Vertex offered faster service, lower fees. I coached their team on Harlan's needs, every detail sharp. Days later, Harlan switched. James didn't link it to me, blaming market shifts. I pictured his clenched fists, rage boiling. Apex stock dipped 2%. Small, sweet. Marissa high-fived. First strike. Suspense grew, would he suspect? I hid the drive deeper, fed info carefully. Coworkers texted, James is livid about Harlan. I smirked in the dark. This was the start. Each win chipped his throne. At home, I sipped coffee, plotting next moves. Revenge tasted sharp, but I stayed cautious. One slip could unravel it. 7 weeks since demotion, I was a shadow warrior. The next client would hurt more. I checked my locks, paranoia ticking. James's empire wobbled, and I'd swing again, harder, to make him feel my pain. The video of my demotion went viral. I wasn't a victim, I was a symbol. June 25th, my phone exploded. Someone recorded James's speech, posted on Reddit, CEO humiliates employee, toxic? 500,000 views overnight. Comments raged, jerk. Rooting for Steve. It hit Twitter, TikTok, exploding. Strangers shared bad boss stories, #JusticeForSteve trending. Heart raced, exposure risky, empowering. James's statement, internal matter, flopped. Clients whispered, employees grumbled. At Vertex, Marissa laughed. This is fuel. Push harder. I nodded, worry gnawing. What if he traced the video? I avoided social media, focused on work. The viral wave lifted me, people cheered my revenge unknowingly. A meme emerged, James as bully, me rising. I chuckled alone. The world saw him as villain. It drove me. The next steal loomed. Suspense tightened, how long until he sensed me? 8 weeks in, the tide turned. His empire wobbled, and I held the lever. Internet roar was my army. I checked news, grinning. My pain, June's humiliation, became a rallying cry. James's smirk was fading, and I'd make it vanish. The next move would sting deeper, and I was ready to strike while the world watched. He screamed about traitors in meetings. He didn't know I watched. July 2nd, tips came from coworkers. James is unhinged, one texted. Ranting about leaks. I pictured him red-faced, slamming tables. At Vertex, I dug the drive, spotting inflated sales. I fed Marissa hints. Apex lost another client, blaming competition. James fired 2 innocents, suspecting betrayal. Paranoia grew. Stock dropped 5%. Investors murmured. I kept my network secret. Encrypted chats, burner emails. Each update made me grin. He thought he was untouchable, but cracks showed. At home, I mapped moves on a whiteboard, arrows to weak spots. Suspense built, he's hiring a PI, a contact warned. Pulse spiked. Stay hidden, I told myself. Marissa pushed, bigger target. I agreed, thrill rising. 9 weeks since demotion, his empire faltered. I was the ghost he couldn't catch. Revenge felt alive, but danger loomed. One slip, he'd pounce. I double-checked security, heart pounding. His screams fueled me. The next hit would shake him harder. I leaned back, plotting, my apartment a war room. James's lesson was brewing, and I'd deliver it with precision, making him regret June's cruelty. Loyalty doesn't vanish, it shifts. People shifted to me. By July 9th, my network grew. 5 ex-co-workers, fed up with James's tirades, sent intel. "He's botching Baxter," one emailed. The drive confirmed risky moves. At Vertex, I shared, and we undercut Apex's bid. Baxter flipped. James blamed disloyal staff, firing more. Others joined me, a secretary sent minutes, a manager leaked client lists. Loyalty to Apex faded as James's toxicity spread. I met them in parks, coffee shops, swearing secrecy. "You're doing right," I said. Their stories, overworked, humiliated, mirrored mine. Network hit 10, then 15. Suspense tingled, leaks could expose me. Power surged. I was the shadow master. Marissa promoted me to strategist. "You're key." At night, I updated my board, pieces aligning. James's rants echoed. Loyalty shifts built my army. 10 weeks in, I held his weaknesses. The next reveal would crush him. How long until he felt the noose? I leaned back, adrenaline high. Revenge was a machine, I was the engine. My apartment's silence hit a storm. June's pain drove me, and I'd make James pay for every word he spat that day. The CFO's report landed in my lap. James was lying to investors. July 16th, a rainy night, a contact messaged, "Big drop." Attached. Apex's financials from CFO Harlan. Hands shook opening it. Revenues inflated 15%, expenses hidden. James's signature, fraud. The drive confirmed patterns. This could jail him. I saved copies, anonymized them. Timing was critical. At Vertex, I showed Marissa. "This ends him." Her eyes gleamed. "Use it smart." Suspense gripped, traceable. I triple-checked encryptions. This was my smoking gun. James preached integrity, but this exposed his lies. I pictured his panic. Held it close, plotting. Network buzzed, more coming. Loyalty hemorrhaged. 11 weeks since demotion, I held his fate. Revenge burned brighter. One mistake, I'd fall. But I was ready. At home, I stared at the drive, heart racing. The report was my bullet. James's empire teetered, and I'd pull the trigger. Suspense coiled, how to deliver the shot. The answer brewed, James E. near. I checked my locks, paranoia high. June's humiliation fueled this war, and I'd win it with precision, making him regret every smirk. We didn't steal another client. We stole his legacy. With the report, I targeted Ellis, Apex's oldest account, James's dad's pride. July 23rd, the drive had old contracts, the report showed overcharges. I built Vertex's pitch, transparency, better terms. Marissa's team presented, using my intel subtly. Ellis switched. Network texted, James is melting down. He accused rivals, no proof. Stock fell 10%. Clients wavered. I toasted alone at home. This cut deep, his father's legacy gone. Suspense mounted, investigators sniffed Apex. He's auditing emails, a contact warned. I switched to in-person meets. Marissa beamed, genius. Fear mixed triumph. What if the CFO talked? I hid the report deeper. 12 weeks in, his empire cracked. Headlines hinted trouble. I watched from shadows, heart pounding. The next move would amplify his fall. Revenge tasted like Jamesy, but sharp. I checked locks, paranoia rising. One push to topple him. I leaned back, planning. James's lesson loomed, and I'd make it sting. His pride, his legacy, gone because of June's betrayal. My whiteboard mapped every step, a blueprint for his ruin. An anonymous file hit a journalist's desk. Guess what it exposed? July 30th, I couldn't hold the report. I tipped a trusted reporter via secure drop, Apex fraud. Redacted financials, James's lies clear. No trace to me. Next day, story broke, Apex CEO accused of inflating numbers. Shares tanked 20%. James called it smear. Investors demanded audits. Network flooded, office chaos. My demotion video resurfaced, tying it all. Karma, comments roared. Suspense peaked, feds next. At Vertex, Marissa high-fived. Perfect. We prepped to grab clients. I paced, adrenaline high. This was the turning point. James's world unraveled. Danger lingered, if traced, lawsuits. I checked alibis. 13 weeks since demotion, I held power. The whistleblower drop was my masterstroke. His lesson neared. I barely slept, dreaming his fall. The internet screamed justice, I was its architect. One push, and his empire would be dust. I grinned, plotting. June's pain was my fuel, and I'd burn his world down with it, leaving him to choke on his own lies. By the time he noticed the rot, it spread everywhere. August 6th, Apex bled, 6 clients gone, including legacies. 20 employees quit. Investors pulled funds. James raged, find the traitor. Network reported, boards furious. Stock hit lows. Headlines screamed, Apex crisis. I watched from Vertex, gaining their losses. Marissa promoted me to partner track. Suspense hummed, feds visited Apex. James's denials weakened. At a bar, ex-co-workers whispered, he's done. I nodded, hiding smirk. My demotion's pain faded, replaced by control. Caution ruled, one leak could ruin me. I encrypted everything. 14 weeks in, his empire teetered. The gala loomed, industry spotlight. Would he show? I planned moves. Revenge spread like wildfire, consuming him. Tension gripped, what desperate act would he try? At home, I updated my board, pieces falling. Network grew to 25, loyal to justice. James's rot was his own, I exposed it. The end neared, I pulled strings. June's humiliation was my spark, and now his throne burned. I checked security, paranoia ticking, but Jamesy was close, and I'd make it unforgettable. He called me pathetic at a gala. I almost laughed. August 13th, Seattle Tech Gala sparkled, suits, champagne. I went with Marissa, blending in. James appeared, smile forced, eyes darting. He spotted me. Steve? Scraping by. Voice loud, drawing stares. Pathetic, post-demotion. Murmurs spread. I met his gaze, calm. Doing fine, James. Inside, I laughed, he was clueless. Marissa pulled me away. Save it. His jab fueled me. Network texted, he's drunk, ranting. Clients dodged him. Suspense built, his mask cracked publicly. Gala video leaked, CEO mocks ex-employee. Comments tied it to fraud. My symbol status grew. 15 weeks in, he looked haunted. I updated my board, kill shot near. Revenge pulsed, but his desperation worried me. What would he try? I stayed vigilant, heart racing. At Vertex, we targeted accounts. The world saw his cracks, I was the wedge. His lesson loomed, I'd deliver with a smile. June's pain was my strength, and I'd make him regret every word, every smirk, in front of Seattle's elite. He fired innocence, hunting me. I wasn't there. August 20th, James's paranoia exploded. Network reported, 10 firings, suspects grilled. He's unhinged. Morale tanked, more quit. I fed Marissa client intel. We stole 3 accounts. Apex faced lawsuits from ex-employees. Stock halved. Headlines, Apex implosion. Suspense tightened, feds hit the office. James blamed saboteurs, eyes turned inward. My network evaded, loyal to justice. At home, I scanned news, pulse pounding. 16 weeks in, his retaliation backfired, weakening him. Marissa warned, he's digging. Stay low. I did, thrill growing. CFO messaged, need talk. Risky, pivotal. Park meet, August 21st, James is sinking us. Take this. Embezzlement documents. Gun reloaded. Revenge escalated. His hunts failed, I was a ghost. Board whispered removal. Tension peaked. I encrypted files, paranoia high. How long could I stay hidden? At Vertex, we planned the final strike. James's empire crumbled, I was the architect. June's humiliation drove me, and now his world burned. I checked locks, heart racing, ready to end this with a blow he'd never forget. His CFO called. He said, I'm done protecting him. August 27th, park bench, tense. CFO Harlan, gray-haired, looked drained. James's embezzling for personal gain. Handed a USB, bank transfers, hidden accounts. Use it. I'm out. Why now? He fired my assistant, blamed leaks. Loyalty broken. I pocketed it, nodded. Thanks. He vanished. At Vertex, I verified, millions siphoned. Jailbait. Marissa's eyes gleamed. Death blow. Suspense clawed, if caught, complicity. I anonymized, plan drop. 17 weeks since demotion, Apex neared bankruptcy. 50 resignations. Clients fled. Network buzzed, board meets tomorrow. I pictured James sweating. Revenge felt certain. CFO's betrayal sealed it. At home, I stared at USB, heart racing. Endgame. One mistake, I'd fall. Thrill drove me. James's lies would bury him. I updated board, pieces locked. Suspense coiled, would he suspect? I was ready. June's pain was my fuel, and I'd burn his empire down. I checked security, paranoia high, but Jamesy was near. The lesson was imminent, and I'd deliver it with precision, making him pay for every second of that June day. We aimed for his crown jewel. Took it. September 3rd, Sterling account, James's pride, 40% revenue. USB showed overbilling. I built Vertex's case, evidence, better offer. Marissa pitched. Sterling switched. Network, James screamed, how? Office emptied. Stock crashed 30%. Headlines, Apex loses key client. Feds confirmed probe. 18 weeks in, his empire dust. I watched news, fist pumping. Marissa celebrated, partner soon. Suspense lingered, boards move next. At home, I hid USB, paranoia spiking. What if he lashed out? I checked security. Revenge felt complete, tension held. Sterling loss cut deepest, his core gone. I imagined his panic, alone. At Vertex, we prepped more. My board showed every win, his ruin mapped. 19 weeks since demotion, I stood taller. Final blow coming. June's humiliation was my spark, now a fire. I leaned back, plotting. James's lesson landed, I was teacher. The world saw his fall, and I'd make sure he felt every second of June's pain returned tenfold. World saw him for fraud. September 10th, media storm erupted. My tip to journalists unleashed hell. Stories detailed embezzlement, fraud. Demotion video recirculated, spark of Apex's fall. Comments, justice. James's interviews flopped, stammering, weak. Investors sued. Employees picketed. 20 weeks in, Apex filed protection. I scrolled feeds, vindicated. Network disbanded safely. Suspense eased, he couldn't touch me. At Vertex, we scooped clients. Marissa, you did this. I nodded, heart steady. World knew his lies. June's pain, public humiliation, fueled this. Headlines tied it, CEO's cruelty started collapse. I watched clips, his desperation clear. Revenge complete, I stayed alert. What if he tried one last move? Secured files, checked locks. 21 weeks since demotion, no victim. Media storm was my creation, James drowned. His lesson public, permanent. I grinned, plotting. June's wound was my strength, and I'd burned his empire with it. The world cheered, and I was the silent architect of his ruin. On live TV, he called me traitor. Looked insane. September 17th, CNN interview, James ranted, Steve orchestrated this. Traitor. Wild eyes, no proof. Viewers mocked, paranoid? Stock bottomed. Board suspended him. 22 weeks in, meltdown viral. I laughed, safe at Vertex. Lesson hit. Comments, Steve's revenge. I watched clips, heart racing. He named me, backfired. No evidence, desperation. Marissa high-fived, done. Suspense faded, powerless. At home, board updated, fall complete. World saw unravel, I was shadow. Demotion, once wound, now badge. Accusations fueled fire. I checked news, grinning. Empire gone, I took it traceless. Lesson, never underestimate wronged. Slept soundly, he'd wake to ruin. June's pain was my spark, now his pyre. I leaned back, Jamesy warm. The game ended, I won, and the world knew his fall was my rise, built on his own lies. Board didn't suspend him. Buried him. September 24th, emergency meeting, James ousted, investigations launched. Assets frozen. Headlines, CEO removed in disgrace. Demotion tied as catalyst. 23 weeks in, Apex sold scraps. I rose, partner track at Vertex. News showed office empty, nameplate gone. Smiled, imagining shock. Network, broke. Suspense lifted, no fight left. Marissa toasted, Jamesy. Pride swelled. Boards move my checkmate. Lies, exposed by leaks, ended him. Watched clips, June's smirk, now nothing. Pain-fueled triumph. Secured files, cautious. Lesson, consequences. No longer humiliated. Vertex thrived, I led. World new story, not moves. Revenge complete, stood tall. June's wound was my fire, now his ashes. I checked locks, paranoia fading, Jamesy mine. The world saw my rise, his fall, and I'd built it from that conference room pain. Cameras turned, I walked, not employee, partner. October 1st, Vertex press conference announced expansion. Marissa, meet co-owner, Steve. Flashes blinded. Sources, James watched, ashen. 24 weeks, roles reversed. I spoke, Vertex's integrity. Reporters ate it. Headlines, ex-employee rises as rivals owner. Demotion video looped, narrative tied. Stood calm, triumph roared. James's empire gone, mine began. Suspense gone, he powerless. Vertex signed clients daily. Board, once revenge, tracked growth. Marissa, legend. Pride burned. Lesson landed, underestimated me. Fall my rise. News, his name faded. Apartment felt bigger, Jamesy lifted. World saw king, not victim. June's pain power, his lesson learned. I leaned back, smiling. The world knew my rise, built on his June cruelty, now dust. I checked files, safe, ready for next chapter. He realized it was me, too late. October 8th, investigations confirmed fraud, charges filed. Apex dissolved. 25 weeks, James bankrupt, alone. Stood Jamesius, Vertex co-owner. Mugshot showed hollow eyes. Network, broken. Smiled, heart steady. Drive, leaks, clients, my moves, unseen. Dead weight, he'd called me. Now nothing. Suspense vanished, no retaliation. Marissa, yours. Clients poured, profits soared. Demotion scar distant, fueled empire. Clips, his smirk, ghost. Lesson, never crush determined. Cleared board, mission done. Learned hard, silence his doom. Slept easy, rewrote story. Ended ruins, mine triumph. June's pain my fire, burned his world. I leaned back, Jamesy warm, knowing I'd turned his words to ash with my rise. He showed at my office, begging. Repeated his words. October 15th, James at Vertex door, disheveled. Steve, job? Please. Leaned in, calm. Men like you never matter. Paled, mouth open. 26 weeks, shell. Security gestured, shuffled out. News, charges mounting, no allies. Heart cold, pain mirrored mine. Marissa, poetic. Agreed. Lesson complete. Demotion sparked this, begged at feet. Checked files, safe. No threats. Coffee, reflected. Words cut, now ash. Vertex grew, name respected. World knew rise, fall. Revenge justice. Stood taller, not humiliated. Lesson lifelong, delivered mercilessly. June's wound my strength, burned empire. I leaned back, smiling, knowing his pain echoed mine, now dust. I thought I'd lost everything. Gained it all. October 22nd, in my Vertex corner office, Seattle sprawling below, I reflected. Demotion's sting forged strength. Vertex thrived, profits doubled, clients loyal. Network friends joined us. James? Prison loomed. 27 weeks since June, I was king, not victim. His lesson, consequences, taught me to rise. Bored, once vengeance, tracked success. Marissa toasted, you built this. Nodded, pride warm. Pain of his words, walk of shame, fueled empire. News, his name gone, mine rising. Suspense faded, untouchable. Framed apex badge, reminder, never underestimate wronged. James learned, losing all. Built anew, stronger. Life's twists. Embraced them. Underdog became James, world knew my name. His lesson mine, never faded. June's pain was my spark, now his ashes. I leaned back, smiling, knowing I'd turned humiliation into triumph, his empire dust, mine soaring.